Then, Mr. Vice Chair, since this is appeal of my decision, I'm going to step down in this role and have legal counsel serve as parliamentarian and offer any help you might need.
Okay. At this time, I'll go ahead and take a motion on this issue so the board may hear it. Do I have a second? Second by Mary.
Okay, I'm just going to introduce the administrative appeal that brings us here today. On September 30th of 2019, Attorney Jared Gass, on behalf of Amber Christensen, submitted a letter to the Codington County Zoning Officer requesting the issuance of a stop work order as to conditional use permit 18-007, which was issued to Crown Ridge Wind LLC and Crown Ridge Wind 2 LLC. On October 8, 2019, the zoning officer issued a letter refusing to issue a stop work order. On October 28, 2019, a notice of appeal was filed with the zoning officer indicating that his decision would be challenged through this administrative appeal. Notice of public hearing was published, and that brings us to today's hearing. Under the zoning ordinance and state law, this board has jurisdiction to consider this administrative appeal. A supermajority vote is required to overturn the zoning officer's decision with respect to the request for stop work order. With that, I would turn it back over to the Vice Chair.
Thank you. Board members, just so that we're understanding on the yes vote on this motion issues the stop order, and a no vote affirms the zoning officer and denies the stop order. With that, I would open this up to our petitioner, Amber Christensen, to speak to the board. We are going to be limit on this of 20 minutes for you, Amber, and with anybody else that wants to speak to this board.
I don't believe there's a time limit on things that have an action on the agenda, according to bylaws.
In speeding up this meeting, we are going to hold to the 20 minutes.
Okay, well, I want to know an objection to that, please.
Okay.
Can you talk to the microphone?
I can, sorry. Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity. So you had the letter from Jared Gass in front of you that Luke posted as on the agenda. There's 5 important things to note there. Number 1 would be the finding of fact. That's at number 5. That says the CUP should not become effective until all required permits are granted by the state and the federal government, including the remaining applications and licenses referenced in the application. Crown Ridge Wind's permit issued by the PUC in July of this year does not include any permission for the county joint applicant, Crown Ridge 2. They have applied separately at the state, so they do not have a permit, and they were a party to the original CUP. The CUP issued by the board in July does not differentiate between Crown Ridge 1 and Crown Ridge 2. They applied as one project. There's no differentiation in their application of what was Crown Ridge 1 and what was Crown Ridge 2 if you look at the staff report. The transmission line, the 34 miles referenced, is part of the same CUP, which does not have all of its permits. Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge 2 have started construction of the transmission line and the wind energy facility without securing all state and federal permits. I'll supply each of you with copies of my exhibits that I want to walk you through. Thank you, Christine. like you to look at is A1. It's the letter of application submitted to the zoning office. The applicants are applying for one conditional use permit, a conditional use permit. And if you look at the second page, you can see the project area is totally one project. There's no Crown Ridge 1, there's no Crown Ridge 2, it is one project. If you look at Exhibit A2, the application, these are just the pertinent pages from the application. I didn't print the whole thing for each of you. It says on the cover, single use permit application with 2 applicants. The second page, the very first sentence, Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge Wind 2 together, Crown Ridge. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to have to hurry through this so much, but. The third page, again, they say it's an application for a conditional use permit to construct a wind energy system, not 2 projects, a system. And the final page, number 5, the certifications. Crown Ridge will comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations and will obtain all required federal, state, and local approvals, licenses, permits, or variances for the proposed wind project prior to the date of construction. So they've started construction. They do not have all of their permits. They have not been permitted at the PUC. South Dakota Public Utilities Commission, number 4, says the operation of a wind energy facility. Not Crown Ridge 1, not Crown Ridge 2, the facility. Number 3, the landowner notification. This was mailed out to landowners telling what was going to be happening for the CUP application. The application, singular, for a conditional use permit. And if you look at the map on the second page, no delineation of Crown Ridge 1, Crown Ridge 2. It was a facility. Number 4, the notification to Tyler by the zoning officer says your conditional use permit request. One request. If you look at the second page, 1 permit fee, $100, 1 permit, Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge 2 LLC. It is a wind energy system, 1 facility in the county. I also have, which I did not make copies for everyone, but Cindy Bregman did email me and say she can only find that 1 payment for a permit from May through December. So one facility, 1 permit payment. A5 was the public notice in the paper, the conditional use permit, singular. This is how the public was notified. A singular permit to operate a wind energy system with up to 164 wind turbines, associated electrical transmission lines, maintenance structures. Again, the map. No differentiation, all 1 permit, all 1 facility. A6, the agenda of the CUP hearing in July. Number 2, Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge 2, applicant, singular, conditional use permit, singular. A7, the staff report from the July CUP hearing. I gave you the relevant pages. Page 13 shows again the applicant, singular, is Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge 2. B, the request. The requested requesting to operate a wind energy system with up to 164 wind turbines, maintenance and support structures, and associated electrical transmission lines. All one facility, all one permit at the county level. And if you go through the staff report, there's no differentiation at all between Crown Ridge 1 and Crown Ridge 2. They applied for one permit for the entire project. Page 19 shows you the effective date and transferability upon issuance of permit by South Dakota Public Utilities Commission. They split the project up when they went to the PUC. They did not split the project up at the county. So they still have a permit remaining to get at the PUC. They could have applied for it all at one time like they did here. They did not. They split it up. You guys permitted it as one. Not your fault. Their decision, not our decision. Okay. 8. The minutes of the July CUP hearing, really pages 2 and pages 4 are the most important part. There was one motion by Johnson, second by Reese, to address the Crown Ridge conditional use permit request, and then motion by Klatt to approve the conditional use permit. One motion for one permit. Again, effective date and transferability, when it's all permitted, it's not all permitted. And page 4, the actual roll call vote was for one permit for one project, and it was approved as one project. Number 9, the findings of fact of the July 16th CUP. The first line, a conditional use permit, the last line of the first paragraph. Item 4, this application, singular. Item 5, very important, this permit should not become effective until all required permits are granted by the state and federal government, including the remaining applications and licenses referenced in the application. Crown Ridge 2 is still going through the process, so we don't know what they have for any state permits. We don't know what they have for any federal permits. It has not been gone through the entire process. It has not been permitted. Page 4. Wait, I'm on page 9, sorry. Item 15 at the bottom of the second page. The zoning board officer, the board directed the zoning officer to issue the conditional use permit and any letters of assurance, building permits, or other items associated with said conditional use permit. Again, effective upon the issuance of the permit by the PUC. It's not been permitted. And on the very last page, above Robert Fox's signature, the conditional use permit was approved by a vote of 6 yes, no, 0 no. One permit was approved. And you'll see the number at the bottom, conditional use permit number C018, CU018007, a permit. Number 10, we appealed that decision to the court, and Crown Ridge did a respondent brief, and you can see they are a combined applicant doing a combined response. And on page 1 it says the conditional use permit. They admit there's one permit. And on page 2, right under relevant factual background, Crown Ridge applied for a CUP to construct and operate a wind energy facility. All one facility. Page 3, the motion to approve the application for a conditional use permit. Number 4, again, page 4, the first full paragraph, granting of a conditional use. And Ridge, on the last page, page 24, it says Crown Ridge is the proper party to seek the cup. In their application, they call themselves Crown Ridge as a combined 1 and 2. They called themselves Crown Ridge. Their application was even called Codington Combined. Number 11, Codington's response brief. This was from the actual county attorney. The introduction says, follows the decision of the Codington County Board of Adjustment to grant a conditional use permit to Crown Ridge Wind LLC and Crown Ridge Wind 2 LLC, collectively Crown Ridge. Crown Ridge sought the cup to construct and operate a wind energy system, all combined. The last page, page 31, again, they reference Crown Ridge's application for a cup. Number 12, this is the PUC docket for Crown Ridge 1. That has been permitted. Would you pass these out for me, please? That has been permitted at the state. Yep, stage 2. Once you get that, you'll see the first bullet point. I'll just read it while she's passing that out. A combined, this is from...
You have a page here. That came to you.
Thank you. This is from their application that they submitted to the PUC to be permitted. A combined application for a conditional use permit to Codington County dated June 8, 2018 for the Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge Wind 2 wind energy systems. The applicant contained the cup from Codington County. This also says that on July 16th, containing conditions as displayed in Appendix J. Appendix J. Oh, maybe you handed that out.
Yep, I thought you had yours.
Sorry. Appendix J. I'm going to find my place. Nope, that's not it. Well, Appendix J is missing. Appendix J says that they'll abide by the permit of the county. We'll have to find the conditions. Did you guys get conditions in there somewhere? Appendix J? Oh, it's listed as Appendix J down in the corner. Oh, here it is, sorry. See what happens when you rush me? I make a mess of things. No. Appendix J. No. I should have been copies for everybody.
Was that one of them you submitted, Amber? I've got it on, I can pull it up
No,
on here.
I just followed up with, it might be attached to all of your things.
It's a
To the
PUC
rebuttal.
conditions.
The conditional use permit will allow you to operate a wind energy system with up to 164 towers and other structures uses in the manner presented in your application at the meeting. Oh, that's what Luke wrote. That's his letter. So, I don't know, do you guys want to see that? I can pass it around, I guess. Do you have it? Okay, thank you.
It's in the first
I
section.
got kind of lost because I'm in a hurry. 13 is actually A13. I'm not sure if you got an A13. It actually is the application for Crown Ridge 2 at the PUC. If you look at the second page, it shows the procedural schedule. The decision would not be until sometime in March, the end of March. So that would, if approved there, then the entire wind facility would be permitted. If not approved, the wind facility would not be permitted. Okay. So, to conclude, could Crown Ridge have applied separately at the county for 2 CUPs and held 2 CUP hearings for 2 projects? Sure, they could have. The board would have held 2 separate votes on the argument of facts regarding 2 projects, and each may or may not have been approved of their own standing. Of course, that isn't what Crown Ridge chose to do, and that is not what the public and the board heard or what the board approved. There was 1 cup with 1 vote at 1 public hearing with 1 public notice with 1 project boundary. Remember, collectively, Crown Ridge was the presentation. It was combined. Could Crown Ridge have applied as one at the PUC and be ready to roll and be building as per the county cup? Yes, they could have. But did they? No, they did not. They chose to separate the project into 2 projects to put before the PUC after they received 1 CUP at the county level. The language is clear and plain in the findings of fact at the county cup. Item 5. Let me read that to you again. This permit should not become effective until all permits are granted by the state and federal government, including the remaining applications and licenses. The language is also clear at the PUC in the conditions of all 3 dockets Luke referenced in your packets. The PUC expects Crown Ridge to follow the rules of all applicable permits issued by a federal, state, or local agency with jurisdiction over the project. That certainly includes the rules that this very board wrote into their findings of fact. 1 application, 1 motion, 1 vote, 1 cup. 1 cup that clearly states it is not effective until all permits are granted by the state and federal governments, many of which have not even been applied for as far as we know. Crown Ridge 2 is still in the process of permitting at the state, and the evidentiary hearing is months away. The board must enforce the language they chose to write into their cup approval. I ask the board to overrule the decision of zoning officer Luke Muller and instruct him to immediately issue a stop order in regard to any portion of the wind energy system cup issued July 16, 2018, including turbines, associated transmission and electrical lines, and operations and maintenance structures. Thank you. Do I have time left?
You have 39 seconds.
Okay. Well, I have all the conditions from the PUC that Luke had put as his exhibits. So the stipulations to those, I have all those, but you know, if you're not willing to look at them because of time, that's fine.
Okay.
They're available, they're public documents, so you guys can look at them. And I'll stand by for questions, and I reserve the right to rebut anything that's presented later.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry for the rush job.
Board members, as a rebuttal to Ms. Christensen, I will allow, if Crown Ridge has anybody here to speak on their behalf for this, in saying that we will grant you 20 minutes also, the same amount of time that we granted the petitioner.
Thank you, Commissioners. Miles Schumacher from Lynn Jackson, Schultz, and St. Falls. I'm one of the attorneys for Crown Ridge Wind and Crown Ridge Wind 2. This really is just a bunch of nonsense. There's been no showing of any construction activity on anything in Codington County for which all required permits have not been issued. The petitioner here keeps saying that the finding of fact says you have to have all permits and conveniently leaves out the word required. It's all required permits. The meaning of the word required permits is the permits that are necessary to engage in the particular construction activity that we're talking about. And here, all construction activity is part of Crown Ridge